In 1954, a black and white horror film about a half man, half amphibian ended up in theaters in 3D form. And this movie is widely considered one of the greatest monster pictures ever made. The Creature from the Black Lagoon was produced by William Allen, and it was directed by Jack Arnold. The movie starred Richard Carlson, Julie Adams, Richard Denning, Antonio Marino, and Whit Bissell. The creature on land was played by Ben Chapman, and Rico Browning played him underwater. Now, Julie Adams is the gorgeous lady that comes face to face with the monster, and she stated numerous times that she loved the process of filming this movie. She said everybody on the cast and crew got along really well. And she went on to explain that she actually felt sympathetic towards the monster. She felt like there was a feeling of compassion for the monster, and just the sheer fact that the monster was longing to be loved like everybody does. And it kind of struck a chord with most people. Director Jack Arnold claimed that his main goal in making the film was to create a sense of dread in the audience. He wanted there to be that fear, that basic fear that people have about what they dread that is lurking below the surface of any body of water. It's that feeling you get when you're swimming and something brushes up against your leg and it scares the heck out of you. You don't know what it is, but it's that unknown fear that drives you crazy. That was the fear that he decided to exploit in this movie. And in his filming techniques, this is achieved so well. It kind of reminds you of Jaws with Steven Spielberg. The underwater sequences where it shows him swimming below Julie Adams, you can just feel what you think that she should be feeling. Your instinct is to tell her to look down. There's somebody below you. Now, a lot of the true experts on this film, and there are a lot of real fanatics about this film, and they firmly believe that this is actually a love story between Julie Adams and the monster. And all the underwater scenes create this romantic feeling that is between the two. It's almost a dance that is happening underneath the water. The monster is completely in awe of this beautiful girl, and he doesn't know what to think. All he knows is that he's attracted to her. Now, the movie required two different stuntmen to portray the creature. Therefore, they needed two different suits. Rico Browning played the creature in the water, and he wore a lighter suit. Ben Chapman played the creature when it was out of the water, and his suit was darker. Both Rico and Ben were completely different sizes, and you would think that this would be obvious, but you never end up seeing them side by side. And there are some slight differences between the two costumes, but since you never see them side by side, you don't notice it. Now, Rico Browning, the stuntman who provided the underwater shots of the creature, once had to make an emergency bathroom visit while he was filming a scene. He had been underwater for several minutes, and when he breached the water in full costume, he came up next to an unsuspecting mother and her young daughter on a nearby shore. He said they immediately took off running, and he never saw them again. Now, there's a shot in the movie where Rico Browning actually came up with the idea for Julie Adams to throw a cigarette in the water. At the time, Julie Adams didn't even smoke, and they throw the cigarette in the water, and you get the visual effect of the cigarette hitting the water. And the whole idea behind it was to make people realize that this was contaminating the actual environment that this gill man creature lived in. And the very first design of the creature and the creature costume actually was modeled after the Oscar statuettes. One of the studio executives wanted the creature to have an Oscar appearance. Although it did have gills and stuff in the back, it did have a plain-looking front face without showing any gills or scales on the front. Eventually, that idea was scrapped, and they came up with the final foam rubber and latex creature costume that it looked like in the movie. Now, the concept for the movie was actually conceived at a Citizen Kane dinner party. One night during the filming of Citizen Kane, Orson Welles invited one of the movie's actors, William Alland, over for dinner along with a cinematographer named Gabriel Figueroa. While they were there, Figueroa shared a story that he had heard during his travels about a race of amphibious beasts that were half man, half reptile, and that they stalked the Amazon River. More than a decade later, still intrigued by the concept, they came up with the creature from the Black Lagoon. Those that watch the movie may notice that the film's Amazon may look a lot more like Tallahassee, Florida than the Amazon. Although most of the movie was filmed in Hollywood, there were several river and underwater sequences that were shot at Wakulla Springs State Park near Tallahassee, Florida. Now, the person that came up with the creature suit really didn't get her due credit. This was done by Millicent Patrick, and a lot of her contributions to this horror genre have been largely forgotten by diehard fans. Her talents were so numerous. She acted in 21 films. Yeah, she was an actress too. And then she was also a conceptual artist. She also performed as a concert pianist, and she was the first female animator that Disney ever hired. Before she did Creature from the Black Lagoon, she actually sketched various monster parts for Universal Studios. The Gill Man that she created gave her an opportunity to really shine in this movie. She was responsible for designing every inch of the creature's body. As part of the film's ad campaign, she posed with the Gill Man mask and sketches she had done for some of the publicity shots. But makeup artist George Hamilton Bud Westmore didn't want to be upstaged. He falsely claimed that he was the sole designer of the beast and made sure that her name stayed out of the opening credits. The big complaint that the people wearing the Gill Man suit had was that their vision was so obscured. They only had a small peephole to look through, and it often blurred their vision and made it really difficult to see. Near the finale, the creature carries a passed-out Kay Lawrence, played by Julie Adams, through his cave. Since his peripheral vision was so limited, the Gill Man accidentally slammed Adam's head right into an artificial rock and made her see stars. She's laying there like she's passed out with her eyes closed, and then all of a sudden she's walloped upside the head. Luckily, she was okay. She did receive a pretty good knot and a bump on the head that required some bandages, but she went back to shooting a few hours later. Another severe accident was narrowly avoided while filming the fight scene between the creature and Z. Ben Chapman, the stuntman who acted as the creature on land, and Bernie Gozier, who played Z, had rehearsed the fight scene for several days. There was a real need to do this because of the limited visibility that the creature costume had and the limited mobility that it allowed Chapman to do. The scene actually called for Z to swing at the creature with a machete, and for the creature to grab his hand before he could complete the motion. When the scene was filmed with the actors in costume, Chapman actually missed Gozier's hand when he swung the machete at him. The blade connected sharply with the creature's head. Luckily, the machete blade was not extraordinarily sharp, and the thick rubber foam that the creature's head was made out of protected Chapman. I can remember having this model when I was a kid. I was born in '56, and I remember purchasing the model of this monster sometime during the mid-'60s. I remember painting it just like the posters had it at the movie theater, and it was one of my prized possessions for years and years. Julie Adams passed away about a year ago from the time that I'm recording this video. Last winter, I was driving through Malvern, Arkansas, and that's where Julie Adams was buried. I actually went to the cemetery on a Sunday to visit her grave, but I was so early in getting there that I couldn't find her grave. It was a fairly small cemetery, but her grave marker had not been put up at that time. So I wasn't able to pay my respects, and there was nobody to ask because it was a Sunday. That's one of the things I regret about my travels last winter, is that I didn't get to visit her grave. I plan on doing that sometime this winter. I hope you've enjoyed this run down memory lane with the creature from the Black Lagoon. What a great show this was. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.